Hi everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Connection. I'm your host, Donna Wilberg. Well, today we are going to be connecting to nature. But first, I'd like you to take a look at this.
Good morning, Jeff Adorador from Earthwalker. I want to talk a little bit about the progression of wilderness survival courses offered through Earthwalker. Wilderness Survival 2. Those of you who have taken 1 have learned the foundation. Shelter, water, fire, food. Priority order, how your physiology adapts to the natural world. Survival 2 is going to be simplifying even more with regard to your kit, coming out here with less. The more you know, the less you need. We're going to be creating debris shelters. We're going to be cooking over the fire, processing wild edibles, learning a little bit more of the Aboriginal or indigenous living skills. I want to encourage you to take your skill set to the next level. I hope to see you out here.
Welcome, Jeff Adorador.
Thank you,
It's
Donna.
so nice to have you on the show, and this is going to be an exciting topic. I don't think we've ever talked about this before.
Well, I'm eager to be able to contribute.
Good. Well, let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved in Earthwalker?
Wow, that's a long story, honestly, but I'll create the condensed version. So I grew up with like kind of a privileged past. Long story short, my father grew up with holes in his shoes, and he swore that his family was not going to, have to deal with poverty in the same way. So I grew up with this kind of skewed sense of reality growing up in Saratoga, California, which is like the 90210 type population. Amazing people there too, but it's just a small slice of life. When it came time to be, right about 20, a kind of rite of passage for a young adult, 18, 19, 20, I had this drive to simplify life. And I was compelled to take some of my financial student aid money, as irresponsible that may be, and invest in a teepee while I was going to college. And I proceeded to do kind of an experiment. While some of my other friends were, studying computer software and starting up little businesses, I was out living in a teepee for about 3.5 years, honestly.
Wow.
And it was honestly one of the most amazing spiritual times of my life, just simplifying life down to chopping wood, carrying water. I held a job the whole time, and I developed certain little routines that kept me connected, the gym and swimming and that kind of thing. But that experiment really gave me an opportunity to delve into some of these primitive techniques of survival and just appreciating less equals more kind of factor.
So you went on you pursued psychology.
I did, yes.
And how did you end up incorporating the two of these things together?
Well, I realized that after the experiment, it could only go too long, so long before I wanted to, get married and that kind of thing. I figured I wasn't going to attract the kind of woman I wanted just living in my teepee in my truck. So I went back and got my master's degree. And I studied and worked in all different kinds of arenas, from the emergency room of the ER to schools to running domestic violence perpetrator groups. And as life happens, we get out of balance. And I realized I was focused so much on that clinical aspect of my career development that I had to come back full circle to a really strong passion of mine, that is earth skills and survival skills. And as far as integrating those two, it's fairly effortless for me.
Yeah.
And it's evolving.
I imagine that does a lot for you, because every time you do something for yourself, you're giving back that power and just accelerating, that God-given gift of being human.
Yeah.
So talk
Thank
about
you.
some of your experiences.
Absolutely. Well, it was a really affirming moment in my life and the development of Earthwalker when I went out and I hunted a meteorite. There's a cosmic story that can integrate well into this programming. Long story short, again, at a Latin jazz concert in Coloma, seeing Joe Craven, I think it was. And I was talking with my friend. He said, I was out hiking around this area, and there was a bunch of meteorite hunters, and NASA was out here, and Search for Extraterrestrial Life was out here, SETI, and apparently a meteorite blew up here recently. I said, wow. My wife said to me, as I'm driving home, she said, you're going to find us a meteorite.
Yeah, they
She
were
just had this look in her
penny.
eye, and she said, you love rocks, you love tracking, you love these nature skills, so you're going to go out. And I said, you're right, I am. Long story short, believe it or not, I did find a big piece of this meteorite. And I ended up trading it to someone, an investor, who paid off all my student loans as a trade for this meteorite. And that gave me an extreme advantage, not having that student loan debt. And I was able to put a little money aside to start this Earthwalker project, which really is just affirming, God, the universe, that this is meant to be. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe. So it's evolving in that way.
That's so cool. And doesn't the universe provide when we need it most?
The universe provides.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a meteorite. Okay, so what did the meteorite feel like? Was it?
The meteorite was out of this world. It was carbon dated 4.5 billion years old.
Oh my goodness.
By a cosmic chemist. It was charcoal and iridescent. And it had the sheen of rainbow, like slight rainbow, because of the heat that it endured coming through our atmosphere. And it had some stories, yeah.
I can imagine. So this is a kind of transition. I mean, when you follow the connections, up to this point, this was truly meant for you to do.
I believe that.
Yeah. So talk about your programs and the kind of things that you're teaching people to do.
So I thought of Deepak Chopra as I'm driving down here thinking about what to say. And he talks about following your passion. Mm-hmm. And when you follow your passion, prosperity follows. And so I'm testing that. My greatest passions in life are helping other people and being out in nature. Mm-hmm. and combining these skills. That's really my intent. On one side of Earthwalker, we have wilderness therapy, which is the therapeutic backpacking, utilizing the beautiful Sierra Nevada mountain range we have to go and find some sanctuary, some peace time, and doing some counseling too. Mm-hmm. On the other side of Earthwalker, we have fundamental survival instruction. And there's a progression of courses that you can take.
Wow. And, I'm one of those that if you put me in the wilderness and walked away, there's no way.
Many of us are.
And I was a Girl Scout,
Yeah.
and I paid attention. But, I think that having that power to be able to sustain life without everything that we're so used to, that just really gives you such a powerful feeling.
We're pretty far removed from
Yes.
some of these fundamental skills
Right.
that were just basic instinct,
Right.
centuries back.
Yeah, and we rely so much on electricity and on water being pumped out of our faucets and whatnot. How many of us would really survive if there were to be a catastrophe?
Yeah.
Tomorrow. So having programs like yours, gosh, what an education.
The people I meet
Yeah.
are really fascinating. It's kind of like the pay beyond the pay at times, just the networking that takes place. And
Yeah.
I have had a few doomsday prepper types that, just kind of everyday people, honestly, that have their different ideas on what could happen.
Yeah. That's not such a bad thing. It's not something that I personally dwell on, but at the same time, I'd love to be able to go camping and,
Sure.
Hold my own.
Yeah,
That'd
hope for
be
the best,
great.
plan for the worst kind of thing. And
Yeah. Plus, it's fun.
Yeah.
Even if you don't use it for
Absolutely.
disaster, you can certainly use
Absolutely.
it for just to get away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you brought some interesting objects here. You want to talk about those?
I did. So fire is always a hot topic. Mm-hmm. That's a bad one. I'm sorry.
Wait,
and that's what I have here are fire ignition sources, from primitive to more modern. And so I'll just show you a few of these. This one's really familiar to a lot of the survival communities. It's the bow drill method. And this is literally tens of thousands of years old. And you're making friction by combining these two elements.
Okay, so you've got two pieces of wood. Are they different kinds? Are they the same?
These two happen to be the same.
Okay.
No, I can take that back. This is cedar, flatwood cedar, and this is sage.
Okay.
And this is willow here as the bow, the mechanical advantage here. And you're basically just generating a lot of friction, and you're coming up with a fire coal here as the very start of ignition.
Okay.
And you take that very fragile seed and you transfer it into a fire nest where you bring it up the fire ladder. There's actually really ancient symbology in this of masculine and feminine and spirit. And indigenous cultures have stories for this kind of thing. The same concept goes with a more simplified version where your hands are the mechanical advantage. This is the hand drill method. Like here, they meet here. Okay, fire seed here, you transfer. And then in other cultures around the world, you work with what resources you have. In areas where you have a lot of jungle and bamboo, you have fire saw method where you have a little slit here, and it meets here on a track. You have tinder here, and you're creating friction and force here where the fire seed is generated inside this area.
Interesting.
Here. One last one here. This is the fire plow. This is actually has roots in the Polynesian islands. This is hibiscus. And the fire plow moves like this.
Wow.
Fire seed is generated here. And you transfer and bring it up the fire ladder. And it's a really magical process. I mean, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of sweat, a lot of focus.
It's amazing how, different cultures found their way, to fire.
And fire was so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it was light, protection, cooking, the development of, so many other things. To think of, where this came from to where it's gone. I mean, this has been put into everything from rockets to automobiles to evolved into our technology to watch TV.
Wow. Well, but we're trying to get away from all that. We're trying to get back to basics. Kind of incorporating therapy into this type of program. What kind of results are you getting? What are you feeling?
Well, I run a traditional practice too, and I source a lot of my experience from that as well. And either environment, whether I'm outside or I'm in a traditional therapy room, I'm leading, but only so much. So largely, I'm witnessing what's going on by asking good questions, by framing conversations. I don't like to frame myself as the expert.
Right. But having the experience that you have in the outdoors, it's calming, it's healing, and being able to lead someone to that and saying, here's another alternative, to whatever it is in the behavior they were choosing before. So are you finding that it's very helpful, that people are having better results with combining the two?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And that's just simply because the natural world strips us down of our defenses. It helps us let go through movement, through stillness, a combination of the two, a process of breathing in. We've talked about, just before the show, energy and how the earth gives off an electromagnetic field. There's some scientific terms like the Schumann's resonance. It's like a 7.4 hertz of electromagnetic field that astronauts first discovered when they went out into space. They were having physiological element problems, and they incorporated this electromagnetic pulse in the spacesuits, and everything kind of balanced out. Well, the Earth, of course, has us keeping us in balance. So just taking people outside and spending an immersion out there. I mean, it does so much to develop conversation, to develop personal insight, to let go of heavy life occurrences, or the passing of a loved one, a divorce, finding a purpose and direction in life. I've taken people out who have trouble with addictions, and seeking a natural high that's based off sustainable health. Nature provides that.
Yeah. Well, we do have a little clip that we're going to show about frequency.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff Adorador from Earthwalker. I'm spending some time out in the redwoods right now, and it gets me thinking, how many of you make a regular routine of spending time out here in such beautiful places? A lot of people think, oh, I got to spend time in nature, it's so cliche, cool, and all that, but in actuality, there's a whole deeper aspect of health that you can receive from being out here. It gets me thinking about hearing old stories about when NASA was first going up into the outer space. They were finding that the astronauts were coming back with minor ailments. And the scientists figured out that the Earth has a certain frequency of 7.4 hertz of this electromagnetic field that kind of keeps this homeostasis within our physiology and all of the Earth. So, in essence, when we're out here, it's not just this cliche cool, it's gathering that electromagnetic field that creates health and wellness in our own being.
That's interesting. And, I like, I know just personally for myself, when I'm outside and it's very still, listening to all the different sounds and the bees and
just opening up.
Right. The different vibrations is almost as if it works with my own frequency and sort of balances things out.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. So, do you have different routes, different programs for different issues that people are going through?
I do. I really try to be conscientious about who's attending this kind of, what kind of group. For example, I have older populations, younger populations, people who are more in shape and so on. I have questionnaires to assess what kind of route we're going. All of my trips have the similar elements of finding peace and sanctuary. So I like to get off the beaten path. I always love being around water, whether that's the river or some mountain lakes. Just that makes everyday living easier, but it also has that cleansing element as well.
Now, do you have a favorite place?
Yeah, but not really places I like to advertise.
Okay.
Definitely, the Sierra Mountains are filled with wonderful places to go.
Now, you talked about going to Japan. You've been all over the world.
Well, I wish I could say I was a world traveler. My brother is a naval officer, lives in Japan with his family, and I've been saving up, finally made the trip, and I was so invigorated and inspired by the Japanese culture. For one, they integrate nature into their everyday living with the practice of Zen Buddhism and Shinto, and that's something we're lacking here in the West largely, that integration of nature and everyday life.
So what does that look like? I mean, what kind of routines do they have that is different from?
Well, one thing that I saw that was obvious was all their temples and shrines both honored deity and ritual, but they also honored open spaces with natural environment, uncluttered, and of course the Zen gardens were perfect examples of how that natural element is a powerful spiritual healing, contemplative element. It's part of the path.
So do you still have desires to go hang out in a teepee?
Oh, I wish, someday I'm going to have land and I'll put up the teepee, and hopefully my family and I can just have it as a little retreat, that's the idea. The teepee's an amazing experience, because it's both a circle and a sphere. There's something about the geometry about the teepee that's not only practical, but it's a great environment to sleep and dream in and be creative in.
That's interesting. So, you know, it's hard for me to imagine, because I don't think I've ever been without lights and, you know, running water and, you know, curling iron and all that good stuff. So that would be, you know, quite the treat. Do you get a lot of people who are just, you know, it's almost like the last resort, you know, to just strip everything away and go back to the basics?
I'd like to encourage that process
Yeah.
with all my clients, but manage safety, of course.
Yeah.
Because many people romanticize, whether it's on the survival end of things or just simplifying things. I mean, they want to, like you say, just strip down and become simple. But you have to be conscientious of our physiological needs, of course, and just being in a leadership role, I obviously have to manage the wellness of people as I'm leading these trips. So that's always in the forefront of my mind.
Well, you certainly have the credentials. You've
Thank you.
You've studied. You've been in the medical end of it, so you have that expertise. You've got the, you know, the therapy, the wherewithal to think on your feet and to,
I do.
you know, be able to handle that portion of it. But you've also, what other kind of training do you have that kind of lends itself to this environment?
Well, I currently instruct for search and rescue, and I've learned a thing or two through that process of becoming a member of the team. I've had, on the survival end of things, some you know, really great opportunity to study with some well-known survival instructors, Cody Lundeen being one. Guy on TV with the long braids and walks around barefoot, and people have a lot to say about the barefoot thing. Great guy, very intelligent, very funny, too, great sense of humor. And he's actually been gracious enough to answer my phone calls and emails sometimes to help me out with ideas with Earthwalker. I've also studied with Tom Brown Jr., who's off on the East Coast, Pine Barrens, New Jersey, as a school called Tracker School. It's kind of like the PhD of wilderness survival. He has many publications out there. Fascinating man. I've learned a lot from taking his courses and studying his literature as well.
Wow.
So yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just saying, you know, you've got the whole package going on. It's not just, you know, you're some guy that wants to, you know, take people on tours. You've got everything it takes to educate them and get them on their feet and do it safely and efficiently and whatever.
Thank you,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
I'm always learning, you know, that's growing and that's life. But I'm definitely, I definitely have more of a foundation than just literature and watching YouTube videos and that kind of thing.
That's so cool. Well, we're almost out of time. Do you want to give your information for the folks at home?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'd like to offer anyone who's watching this program 25% off any of my Earthwalker courses. You could just simply type a memo. Please follow me on Facebook and spread the good word about this passion project I have, Earthwalker, Wilderness Therapy, and Survival Skills. You can find my webpage at earthwalkerllc.com. So feel free to get in touch with me. Look forward to meeting you, hopefully.
That's wonderful. And you had mentioned you're taking a group of boys.
Yes.
On a trip. What a great thing to do for kids, you know, especially at this day and age when they don't really have a role model per se, or that kind of opportunity to do things like that. So
absolutely, a little male mentorship, kind of rite of passage, 5-day wilderness trip coming up. I also have in August healing hot springs and hiking trip coming up, kind of a recharge weekend.
That sounds wonderful.
So a lot of good stuff. You can see it on the calendar of events.
Yeah, great. And you also do this for, you said you'd be willing to do it for a group of girls as well too, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Wow.
And that goes for any of my courses. You know, I can tailor fit any of these courses to accommodate to various populations.
That would be great because, you know, a lot of girls suffer from low self-esteem. What a way to get them out there and, you know, gain back their power.
Absolutely.
For any child.
Absolutely.
You know, for anybody. So.
The boys group, a single mother contacted me post-divorce and needed a little mentorship for her son. So that's how that trip evolved and happened.
I think
So
that's great. Wow. Well, let's give some information about the Paranormal Connection.
First and third Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our companion show, Story Connection, airs the second and fourth Thursdays of each month. Each episode repeats the following Friday at 1:30 p.m. and Saturday at 5:30 a.m. Watch these programs online at the same air times by going to accesssacramento.org and clicking Watch 17. In the Sacramento region, you can see us on Comcast Channel 17 and on AT&T Channel 99. You can find previously aired shows on the Paranormal Connection YouTube channel. For information on upcoming shows and previous Paranormal Connection guests, go to paranormalconnectiontv.blogspot.com. You can contact us at paranormalconnectiontv@gmail.com. And don't forget, find us on Facebook, become a friend, and become a fan.
Well, Jeff, the time went way too quickly. Way too quickly. I'm just so happy that you're doing something like this. I want to encourage everybody who's watching, get in touch with Jeff, do an organization trip or whatever, but, get in touch, get back in touch with nature. It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
So in the 30 seconds we have left, any parting words?
Yeah, my sole purpose is to enrich people's lives and help them connect back to nature. So I'd love to be part of your journey. Look forward to meeting you.
Wow, thank you so much, and thanks for bringing all your wood and showing us, gosh, that you can make a fire out of 2 pieces of wood. All right,
Awesome.
With that, we're going to say goodnight. Thank you, everybody, for watching.